So, this is going to be part 5 of my childhood storytime series, and part 5 is going to be about having a extremely overprotective father. So, as I told you in prior videos, my dad was very strict. He's a Capricorn. He also had a lot of Aries energy, I feel like. We don't really know his exact information. We don't even have his exact date of birth. He honestly had to guess. He was told that he was born in one year, and then he recently found out that he was born in a totally different year. So he doesn't even really have that information. My mom doesn't even have that information, and that's like another thing that kind of sucks when you kind of grow up in different cultures, especially if they're not as developed as other countries. But like, my parents don't have copies of their birth certificates. My mom doesn't even know the exact time that she was born. She had to ask her mom, because back in the day, my mom's mom actually had all of her kids at home, and that was just a common thing in Jamaica. You would have your kids at home. Okay, you would have like a midwife, the doula would come in, and that's how you did it. So there was no like paperwork and writing down the exact time, So again, it's kind of all like a guesstimate. They know the date, of course, that my mom was born, the year that she was born, but they just don't have the time. And same thing for my dad. Like, that information is just kind of like, it's just, we're guessing. So yeah. But anyways, my father, though, he was very overprotective. Mind you, I was the only girl growing up, and my older brother, what I want to tell you guys now is my older brother had a different dad, and his dad left out of his life. But when my mom married my dad, he, my older brother became our brother, and then my dad became his stepdad. Okay. And then again, then I have me, then it's me, I'm the middle, and then I have a little brother who is 1 year younger than me. Okay. So, yeah, I grew up as the only girl, and I was the middle child. So when I tell you that my father was extremely protective, and mind you, I forgot to mention this, but in Jamaica, my dad actually already had kids in Jamaica too. I didn't even mention that. So my dad already had kids in Jamaica, and then when he came to the United States, like I said, he started having kids mad young. I didn't mention that, but he started having kids mad young. I have other brothers and sisters that I honestly haven't even met, and then I just found out recently about another brother that I had that lives in Florida, but that could be for another story. But anyways, so being the only girl was very difficult. Okay, it had some pros, but for me personally, there was a lot of cons. Okay, the pros is that I always had my own room. I would always have everything in my room that I needed. Like, a lot of the times, my dad was a yes dad for me. But for my mom, like, my mom would always say no. She was always about budgeting. And again, like, it's because she didn't have money. The only money that we had was my dad's money, and she had to, like, move it around and do things like that. So that's why she has those beliefs around money and holding on to things, and things are not enough. And that's why I also had those beliefs imprinted in me deeply. Okay, so but yeah, so growing up as the only girl, like I said, the pros were, yeah, having my own room all the time, because again, like, having brothers, they had to share a room. I didn't, so I liked that. It was cool. But when I tell you that I was sheltered, I was not allowed to go to sleepovers. I was not allowed to have people come over our house. We were never allowed to have people come over our house, actually, ever. The first time that ever happened was when we moved all the way into Florida when I was growing up, when I was in 4th grade. But we'll get into that in another story. But I was not allowed to have people over, and I was barely allowed to go outside because my dad was so strict. He was so protective. We had to always make sure that if we were outside, I had to stay with my brothers, and he had to be able to see us. Okay, he had to make sure he was able to literally see us. Okay, that was one big thing. If I was allowed outside. There was other times where I was literally not allowed outside, because if my dad saw that there was like boys outside, I was not allowed to go outside. So it was crazy to me growing up. I literally could not go outside when there was boys outside. Mind you, I had brothers. Like, all I know is being around boys, you know. But again, like, my father and his mentality and all them things and being extra protective, and I'm the only female, and then projecting all of those things on me, I was literally put in a box, okay? I was not allowed to do nothing. So that's why having my room, yeah, I would have things to do. I would have games, I would have crafts and all these things that my dad would let me, like, pick up, because I wasn't allowed to go out and do most things like my brothers were. They were allowed to go out and play and run around and, you know, have all the time. It took a long time for him to have me be able to go outside. But then when I started getting a little bit older, it actually started getting more restrictive. Where it came to the point where I remember I was like 12 and I couldn't have my window shades fucking open or my window. It had to be pitch black, and I had to use the lighting in my room. And that was the thing, like, my dad didn't want me looking out the window because there was like boy neighbors, and they would be we lived on a second floor, and like the neighbor next door had a son like around my age named Caleb. I remember this. And, you know, they would pass by. There's also older kids too. There's also older boys. And it was just a young single mother. I remember it was a young single mom, and she had like 3 sons. Yeah, she had 3 sons, and they lived next door, and they would be walking by, and it would be my window. So again, like, my dad, for protective reasons, he didn't want it open. But long story short, my mom, like, when my dad would leave to go to work, my mom would finally let me fucking open the windows. And there would be times where my mom would be like, you can go outside, you just have to come back earlier than your brothers, and things like that. So that would start to happen when I got a little bit older. I would be able to finally get some fucking fresh air. But like, when I tell you that I was sheltered, I'm not even joking, like, locked in my room, not able to do anything out there. It was only me, my mind, my creativity. And that's the thing, I would talk to myself a lot as a kid, and now I know it was just my spirit guides and my higher self. But like, I would have full-blown conversations. I would have the greatest fucking time of my life. But again, yet it was lonely. It was very lonely. And that's why, again, now to this day, I'm more of an introvert. Like, I'm comfortable with being alone because, again, it was like imprinted in me. And again, like, look at me, I'm in a little closet right now having this conversation, but this is what feels safe for me, and I'm working on it, so don't, just leave me alone. But yeah, so that is gonna be yeah, that's going to be it for part 5. Make sure to give this video a like, comment below, let me know if any of you guys have had similar experiences or if it resonated with you, and also be sure to comment part 6 for part 6.